Hello, Silvianne here. I'd like to welcome you to the first ever video version of the Lunation letter, where I share with you the astrological happenings for this lunation week through the lens of totems astrology. So this week we're in the second quarter lunation, the Aries lunation that started with that Aries new moon on the 29th, the solar eclipse. And it starts with the second quarter moon, with the moon in Cancer squaring the sun in Aries, and goes until the Libra full moon on the 13th. So we're starting off this lunation week with that square relationship. So this is our first decision point in our new moon, our whole lunation cycle, where those intentions that we set, and that was certainly an incredible seed time to start intentions, not only in any new moon is, but an Aries new moon especially, and with all that eclipse and equinox energy, it was so strong, that launched us off. And now we're at this place where with the moon in Cancer, it's bringing up issues of our hearts, of emotion, our own emotions, other people's. Are we being people pleasers? What is getting in the way of those intentions we set? Because it's not just about that forward moving Aries energy that's so prevalent right now, but whenever that energy of change comes, and of course, anything that is here within us that is blocking the full expression of that energy is going to come up to be healed. So to me, it's just a reminder of dealing with the deeper emotional energies and remembering to have compassion for ourselves as well as others as we go through this time of incredible change. You'll see on the same day, the moon is conjunct Mars. So I've got the chart up for this, which is the same day. It's just a few hours later. You'll see that the sun was at 16 Aries, and the moon has moved on now to 25 Cancer. So it's a little past the square, but still within, of course, that 3-day window. And the moon is conjunct Mars. Exactly. So Mars, it's the Cancer synodic, the Cancer overstory. Mars just started his 2-year synodic cycle on January 15th in the sign of Cancer. So collectively on the world stage, we are all participating in dreaming into a more inclusive version of what is the authentic, nurturing, masculine archetype look like. And you can see that Mars is in an opposition to Pluto, which has been in effect for a while now. It's coming a little bit out. It's about, about 8 degrees, but still definitely feeling that energy of that push-pull and that, needing to uncover what's been hidden around that, to allow us to have that full expression, that masculine expression. So that's what's happening in the first part of the lunation. And then on the 6th, the next day, we have Venus is trining Mars. So again, if we look at this chart, you can see that Mars is in Cancer and Venus is in Pisces. And, this is just continuing that huge lineup and configuration of planets we've had in Pisces and Aries, the last sign, the first sign. Water, all oneness, connection with the divine, in relationship to that beginning, those beginnings at seed point, coming out here out of the Kali Yuga, first time in 13,000 years, going in the upwards direction, in the ascending direction. And what does that mean? There's a lot of change ahead of us as all those pieces fall out. But to me, this whole configuration is another reminder to drop deeply into our hearts. So we've got, even though this is not a visible timing, we have Venus in the morning sky as a morning star in Pisces, trining Mars, which is an evening sky already high overhead when the sun sets in that early evening. So again, another indication that we are being asked to drop back into our hearts, and that emotion realm can actually be very supportive for us if we allow ourselves the time and space to drop into it and remember to breathe when some of these more challenging energies come to the fore, which I think that they definitely will. Next thing we have going on this week, and it's actually in effect for the whole month, but we have Venus conjunct Saturn on April 7th, exact on April 7th. And you'll see that they are here in Pisces, late degrees of Pisces, with Mercury and the North Node not far away at all. So with Venus in Pisces, just having begun her 19-month overstory in Pisces for the first time in well over 100 years in that sign, the archetypal exploration of what is the authentic mystical dreamer, healer, bodhisattva, sacred feminine look like? How are we reinventing that at the turning of the ages? And with Saturn there, it's an indicator of the necessity of bringing that heart and more celestial energy and grounding it in our own lives, in everyday habits, creating new structures for ourselves that allow us to walk through that, not just have it be something that's theoretical, but actually spending time on a daily basis, taking that step towards whatever it is that's present for us, of bringing us closer to our own connection with our deepest soul and our spiritual selves. That's really up this week and this month, because near the end of the month, Venus is going to conjunct Saturn once again, which is not all that usual for them to come together twice in the space of the same month. And they were actually together. It's a set of three. They were together at the beginning of the year also. So we are all definitely walking through that reality and the practical application of that in our lives. On that same day that Venus is conjunct Saturn, you see that we have Mercury is stationing direct, which means that Mercury is also starting a whole new synodic cycle. And for Mercury, it's about 120 days, about 4 months. And Mercury will station direct in Pisces, which means that the overstory for this is Pisces also. So it's a double dose of Pisces, sort of affirming and aiding, abetting that sacred feminine in that watery sign of all oneness, of service to spirit. We've also got the communication function, Mercury. So again, there may be challenges coming up with all that Mars, Pluto, Mars squaring the sun, which we'll look when we look at the full moon chart. So expect there may well be challenges in the world and in dealing with other people, challenges that come up, parts of ourselves. And to remember to stop, pause, breathe, and take ourselves back into our hearts, because that is really what is happening in the world right now. And then you'll see that on the 12th, the sun is conjunct Chiron right before that Libra full moon. So let's take a look at this Libra full moon chart. And you see that now, again, of course, whenever we have a full moon, it really isn't just about whatever sign the moon is in this case, Libra. We call it in shorthand a Libra full moon, but it's really about activating that whole resonant polarity, that axis of Libra, and in this case, Aries. So if the moon is in Libra, then by definition, the sun in a full moon is going to be in Aries. And you can see that it's just right still in that conjunction with Chiron. So in this full moon time, that's activating those beautiful Libran mysteries of conscious equal partnership. How do we bring those air ideals to earth, into manifestation in our relationships, and making sure all the voices on the wheel are heard? And Libra it's like the circle with the talking stick. And I believe, it's definitely relational, human to human, but it's also those different parts of ourselves being relational and making sure all the voices are heard, and also our relationship with the earth and with the elementals, all the beings that inhabit this world with us. So that's activated this month, taking that Aries sense of newness, pioneering, meanness, sovereignty, going at life as if for the first time, and then bringing that into balance with how do I bounce self off the other, be aware of of relationship and the weaving of things, compromise, healthy dependence, I would say, rather than, there's a healthy codependence, that we are codependent. No man, no woman is an island. And so with this Chiron there, it's going to bring up the old wounding of that, is where we've had Chiron in Aries for quite a while now. That solar eclipse that happened last April, in April of 2024, was exactly with Chiron to degree and minute. I think we're still obviously in the activation time for that, of how do we take Aries back to wholeness, that warrior archetype, instead of being a warrior for profit, war, aggression. It's that defender of the people, the defender of the cosmic order. So that is up this month also. So I want to talk a bit about going back to some of these timings. The moon conjunct Mars. Mars is on the 5th. That's certainly going to be visible in the sky. So as I said earlier, Mars is high up in the sky at sunset, after sunset, as soon as it becomes dark enough to see him. And he is with the stars of Pollux and Castor, which are the bright stars in the Twins constellation. So on that day of the moon conjunction with Mars, on that evening, looking high in the sky to the southeast, be able to see the moon, that half moon, in a triangle with Mars, and then with Pollux and Castor and Pollux. And so in his synodic cycle, Mars is just about to emerge from the first birth and emergence phase that he's been in since January 15th, which is about, if you relate it, the Mars cycle, to the archetypal human lifespan, then this has been childhood, our schooling, and this is the last moon Mars conjunction in this phase 1 emergence. And it's about the higher education, graduate education, specific training. So it's interesting that at this time, synchronistically, if we look at where Mars is in the sky in relationship to the backdrop of stars and constellations, he is just moving past Castor and Pollux and the Twins, which means he's moving out of the sacred hoop, that area that is traditionally seen as a generative place where souls come in, they come through that gateway out at galactic edge into incarnation here. And so Mars is he'll be moving on the 8th, when he reaches the same degree that he was when he started the cycle, when he was retrograde and brightest and closest to us. He's now has gone direct, and he's going to be passing back over that same degree of Cancer, and he'll be starting phase 2, the questing phase. He'll face a lot of challenges coming down the road. So when you're looking for Mars out there with Castor and Pollux, and you'll also see Procyon over to the right below, but it's also very close. You will also be able to see Jupiter high in the sky in the midheaven, setting around midnight. And Jupiter is currently in Gemini, in the horns of the bull, in the bull constellation. So look for that too. Meanwhile, we have in the morning sky, we have Venus. I said that Venus-Saturn conjunction is exact on April 7th. Venus and Saturn and Mercury are all technically visible in the morning sky right now. They're morning sky objects. So Venus will be the brightest of those. Saturn will be the dimmest. So go out and look about an hour, 30, 40 minutes before sunrise, and you should be able to see Venus to the east before the sun. And you may be able to see Saturn and Mercury. If not, you can certainly tune into them and feel into that. And on this same day that Venus is conjunct Saturn, Mercury is stationing direct. You can see that it's close to stationing direct there. So after those 3 months in a Sagittarian overstory, now Mercury, as I said earlier, is going to be in the Pisces overstory. So it's starting the whole new synodic cycle, and that we measure that from when it turns direct, because that's also usually about the time it becomes visible in that morning sky. So look for them there and watch for that Venus rising. I haven't been able to see her yet. I'm here in Southern California. It's been rainy, which is great, kind of cloudy in the mornings, but the land is loving the water. but it means I haven't had my own, what I'm calling my own personal experience of the Venus rise yet in this cycle. So it's just a fun thing to track, and, to see what personal meaning it has for you at the day and the time, and where she is in the sky when you finally are able to see her from wherever you are in the world. So that is a quick overview of what is going on this week to pay attention to. Remember, both morning and evening star planets to be visible in the sky. And I think that the main takeaway from this is really to remember to be operating from our hearts. There's so much of that energy right now. We've been talking for weeks and months now, really, about that concentration of planets in Pisces and in Aries. And so it's going in both directions. It's not that everything's moving from Pisces into Aries. We have those outer planets. We have Neptune and Saturn both moving from Pisces into Aries, but then we also have the north nodes that have moved, the nodal axis has moved back into Pisces, Virgo at the beginning of this year, and will continue for the next year and a half just to explore that trajectory from Virgo to Pisces, the North Node, the dream for humanity, the fate for humanity going forward, and Mercury's right there at this time of its Pisces overstory beginning. So again, we're feeling the Aries energies, we're feeling the new energies coming through, wanting to create new things in our life, and it's so important to stay centered in our hearts. And remember, it doesn't all have to happen today. Aries can be an impatient energy. I know as someone with a lot of Aries in my chart, this is true. And I also have a lot of Pisces. So that ability to sit with others in compassion and yourself, remembering, again, I think that one of the big themes this week is to love yourself in direct proportion to how much you love others, that you are as just deserving as those that you came to serve. So if you can remember that this week, keep breathing, keep going deeper within, and taking that with that Saturn and Venus conjunction, just keep taking the one step forward and having compassion for yourself when it feels like you've backslid or not lived up to your own expectations. Celebrate the small victories and the small abilities to be present, because really at this time of incredible change, however, in whatever way, we can sit deeper in our own hearts and with our own truth and anchor that in, if it's a meditation practice, a walking practice, just going out in the garden and sitting under a tree, just stopping and talking, with another person or with a child or an animal, just being in that energy of presence. The effects of that and the positive effect and reverberations in our life are really amplified right now with all the energies that are coming through. Until next time, thank you very much for being here. Bye-bye.